Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you all. So today we're going to be doing some post-ban list testing for Dragon Link. Now I haven't been doing a lot of post-ban list theory crafting just yet because, at the time I'm recording this, it hasn't been officially announced yet, but it's highly anticipated that a selection pack featuring sprites and likely tier limits as well is going to be coming up here in the very near future. So in that regard, I'm definitely holding off on a lot of theory crafting until we get confirmation of those cards coming out and exactly which cards are coming out. Because even within, that, it's still uncertain if we're going to get some of the later sprite and tier limit support now or later. That's its own whole fiasco. But a few decks that I have been willing to test out are grass decks, with that Grasslook screener about to go to 2 copies per deck as opposed to 3. There have been a lot of people who've been saying that grass decks are just like dead now. I definitely don't think that they're just dead in the water. I think that's definitely a bit of a over-exaggeration. I think it honestly is going to ultimately matter deck to deck. What decks still want to play that Grasslook screener. For example, actually Emancipator. I suspect that is going to be a 40-card deck now. In the past, when Black Dragon went to 1, I said the same thing, but then after playtesting, in that recent video, I was like, grass is still fine. You have to make a few adjustments, but, I think grass is still fine. But with grass going to 2, now I have to wonder, that might have been the tipping point for me, for Emancipator in particular. But we're not talking about Emancipator. Today we're actually going to be talking about Dragon Link, which after this testing, I think is one of those decks that does still actually probably want to play as a 60-card variant. And one of the main reasons that I think this is the case is because Dragon Link is a deck that can be very difficult sometimes, not always, but sometimes to get down to 40 cards. There are a lot of Dragon Link builds that aren't 60 cards that still play 44 or 45 cards. So when I'm thinking about Emancipator, for example, right? I'm thinking that deck can very easily be 40 cards. So is it worth playing an extra 20 cards for 2 copies of Grass? No, I don't think so. But when I look at Dragon Link, this deck is probably going to be closer to 45 cards, even if I try to trim it down. Am I trying to play 2 copies of Grass for 15 extra cards? That actually sounds a lot more appealing. But of course, it goes beyond more than just that. Dragon Link, I think a little bit more than Emancipator, really likes having its graveyard loaded up. Emancipator is really looking to use Grass to specifically help get Block Dragon in the graveyard, and more just have easier access to Block Dragon. But with Dragon Link, we have multiple cards that actually do like being in the graveyard. Like Fairy Tale Snow, pretty much any of our Thunder Dragon monsters, Chamber Dragonmaid and Dragonmaid Tidying. We just have a lot more cards that are actually looking to have some, graveyard utility. And we do have other cards that, even though have other main functions, have graveyard utility, like Starliege Seyfert, like Chaos Space, so on and so forth. Now, for this build in particular, I normally don't make one-to-one swaps. Normally, even if I'm only taking 1 card out of a deck due to a ban list change, I'll still rebuild the whole deck. This was actually an exception to that case, where I did actually just make a 1-for-1 swap. I took out one of that Grasslook screener, and I actually put in a second copy of Nibiru, the Primal Being. There were a couple of other cards I was considering. It was honestly going to be Noctivision Dragon originally rather. I was going to take out, that Grasslook screener and then just play Noctivision, which is a card we've actually played in the 60-card variant of Dragon Link in the past, and I think it's a very good extender. It not only offers another link material, but it also lets you draw a card when you use as a link material. The downside is that it's level 7, so you can't use it to make Guard Dragon, Pisty, or Striker Dragon, which can occasionally matter. I think maybe one other, no, okay, it's just those 2, but that can occasionally matter, but typically it's still a very good extender. So I did almost play this, but I decided to play a second Nibiru, mainly because I think we're in a very, we're in a format where Nibiru is very, very good now. Now, even when we were in, Branded Despia / Runic / kind of flow format, basically, the last season and a half or so, where Nibiru wasn't as good, and there were some cases where he took it out altogether. I still liked having a copy of it around just in case, but this format is way different than the one we were looking at even just a few weeks ago. I think Nibiru is a must-have for just about any deck now, with Mathmech and Sword Soul being the most dominant decks, both very much playing into Nibiru on a regular basis, and now Branded Despia, Runic, and Flundery. Well, Flundery is actually still seeing just the same amount of representation, but one thing I've noticed, and this may be entirely anecdotal, but I've noticed that Flundery's players are playing into Nibiru more often, I think because there's been a lack of Nibiru on the ladder for quite a while now, but moral of the story is, I like having 2 Nibiru in 60-card decks when it's good in the format, just to give you a better chance of drawing it in general and off of Maxx. And in this deck in particular, we can also find Nibiru off of Chaosroar, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, so I just generally like having 2 copies. Plus, you know, it's a light monster, so even if it just gets milled, like, it still has some functionality in being able to get banished from the graveyard. Yeah, because like I said, normally I do like just completely rebuild decks from the ground up when they have a ban list change, but I don't know, it's like, I was still going to play the Thunder Dragon engine if we're going to play the 60-card variant. We're still playing the mini Dragonmaid package here. Everything else looked fine, you know, everything else, like, yeah, I still want to play all this other stuff, so I will continue to play all this other stuff. I did consider trying to make room for Forbidden Droplets, and to that, I did almost drop this mini Dragonmaid package, but I think I'm still going to try it out for a little bit longer. If the consistency hit with 2 grass does prove to make this like a little bit too inconsistent, then I may take them out for droplets and then maybe Noctivision or some other random card to throw in. But yeah, I don't know. If you're going to play the 60 cards, I still think Thunder Dragons is absolutely the way to go. Just having easy access to those extenders that can also go into Colossus is so nice. But yeah, I think that's about all I've got to say about the build itself, so let's go and take a look at some gameplay with this post-ban list build here, after we break the list down card by card. So in our build, we're playing 1 PSY Frame Driver, 2 Effect Veiler, 2 Rokket Synchron, 3 Maxx, 2 PSY Framegear Gamma, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 White Dragon Wyverburster, 2 Black Dragon Collapserpent, 1 Fairy Tale Snow, 3 Rokket Tracer, 2 Rokket Recharger, 3 Starliege Seyfert, 2 Chamber Dragonmaid, 3 Thunder Dragondark, 1 Thunder Dragonhawk, 2 Thunder Dragonroar, 2 Absorouter Dragon, excuse me, sorry about that, 1 Chaos Dragon Levianeer, 1 Red Eyes Darkness Battle Dragon, 2 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Harpie's Feather Duster, 1 Foolish Burial, 2 That Grass Looks Greener, 3 Chaos Space, 1 Dragon Ravine, 1 Boot Sector Launch, 3 Quick Launch, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and then finally 2 Dragonmaid Tidying. That's the main deck. For the extra deck, we have 1 Thunder Dragon Colossus, 1 Borreload Savage Dragon, 1 Chaosroar, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, 1 Guard Dragon Pisty, 2 Striker Dragon, 1 Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres, 1 Dragoonity Knight Romulus, 1 Delindrous Dragon, 1 Quad Boral Dragon, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer, Gloomy, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Access Code Talker, and then finally 1 Boral End Dragon. And that's going to do it for the deck. Now let's take a look at some gameplay. For our first duel, we are going to be playing against 2, I'm sure nobody's surprised, Mathmech. This Mathmech deck was playing a set of 4 Mud Skippers, interestingly enough. Alright, looking at our opening hand here, I mean, obviously the PSY Frame Driver is pretty unideal, but, you know, the rest of the hand looks fine. You know, we've got the Chaos Space and Starliege Seyfert, so opening with either one of these cards is going to let you go into your, like, quote-unquote one card, well, not even quote-unquote, it is a one-card combo. It's technically 1.5, because you have to have any card in hand to discard for Dragon Ravine, but, well, actually, no, you don't, I'm sorry, because the combo actually does let you add that as well. I'll just go ahead and let it play it out here. So we're going to use Chaos Space to banish that PSY Frame Driver we added, some of the Collapserpent, or the PSY Frame Driver we discarded, some of the Collapserpent we added. Go into the Striker Dragon, use both effects to search the Boot Sector Launch, as well as the Light Pulsar, or the Wyverburster. I always call Wyverburster Light Pulsar. I don't know why I do that. I just must be still stuck in a Dino Rabbit Chaos Ruler format. Or Chaos Dragon format. That was, what, 2013? 14? Jeez. Anyway, yeah, from there we go into Romulus, and we'll get the Wyverburster search. And this is what I mean when I say you actually don't need another card in your hand to discard. You can just discard the extra Chaos Dragon that you end up adding. Oh, and then we also get a draw off of the Chaos Space as well. We have the extender in the form of Quick Launch, but we're actually not going to need it to pull off our main plays, so I'm probably not going to end up using it unless our opponent ends up disrupting us somehow. Yeah, at that point we send the Absorouter Dragon off of Dragon Ravine, then activate Boot Sector Launch over it to summon Rokket Tracer. The opponent is going to have a PSY Framegear Gamma for us. It's a little bit annoying, or it would be, but you know, we have the rocket launch, or the quick launch rather, so it's actually totally fine. Actually, you know what? The thing that is annoying about it is that now we can't do the Rokket Tracer effect to summon the Recharger from our deck, so we're going to have to summon the Recharger off of quick launch. That is actually important to note. That I did have to get exactly Recharger off of the quick launch here. I could have used the Rokket Synchron's effect when I normal summoned it, but I opted not to just because of the zones that I put my monsters in. I need these 3 zones to be open to continue my combo, so if I'd actually played Rokket Synchron here or here, I could have put the Absorouter Dragon off of its effect here. But, yeah, like I said, I summoned it to this zone, so then I realized, like, oh, I need these zones open, so I just opted not to get the effect there. Which is fine, like, it's a minor misplay, but it really is just going to deny me, like, an extra body on the board that I don't need. Like, I'm literally not going to even use it for the combo anyway. And at that point, you know, it's like, it doesn't matter. I mainly just needed the Rocket monster, the level 4 or lower Dragon monster, really, to make Guard Dragon, Pisty, and Striker, but making Delindrous Dragon here is really important, by the way. If you want a really detailed and thorough breakdown of this combo line, then I do have a combo guide on my channel that I believe should be linked in the description below, where I go over some Dragon Link plays. I saw Dragoonity Knight Romulus, and yeah, so here, unfortunately, we got interrupted again in the form of Ghost Spell, bringing our Delindrous Dragon back. So I'm forced to go into the Erratic Seal before passing here. This wasn't. I do have another game in this video that's going to be more of like the standard turn 1 setup. This one's going to be much less standard because we just got disrupted a couple of times there. Alright, so the opponent's going to special the Mathmech Edition and go into Salamangreat Bailing. So I suspect they're about to drop a Parallel Exceed here, but they actually don't. It's actually just Diameter. Okay. That said, as soon as Diameter gets summoned, I am going to use the Erratic Seals effect on the Diameter. That way they can not only not go for a rank 4, but they also won't have a Diameter negate up for their plays here. It's also going to protect me from getting OTK'd by access code. They can still make access code here, but unless they have another extender, they can't make access code plus update jammer. Yeah, so rather than go for the access code for a bunch of damage that's not lethal, they decided to go for the Heat Soul to draw an extra couple of cards. Yeah, I might have been able to grab something better than Chamber Dragonmaid now that I think about it. I mostly just grabbed it just to get the plus off it in, you know, the search for the Dragonmaid Tidying, but it's not like I can really do anything with this Tidying this turn anyway, so I don't know, there's a decent chance it might have been right to special something else, but you know, since my opponent has a monster, I get to bring back Rokket Tracer. That in turn also lets me bring back Delindrous Dragon, so getting a free Link 2 like that is huge for the follow-up turn. It's going to make closing this game out a lot easier. Same with having Fairy Tale Snow. Fairy Tale Snow is such a good card in this deck. Because you put so many cards in the graveyard, even without grass, like even on like quote-unquote regular plays, you put so many cards in the graveyard that like it's not uncommon to be able to activate Fairy Tale Snow like 3 times in a turn. And that's kind of what my plan was going to be here. I was going to Link Climb, basically. I had the Borreload Savage out already as an Omni Negate and extra damage up, so Fairy Tale Snow comes back, links with Delindrous into Nightmare Unicorn. You know, I discard, bounce something, or spin something, and then I can just bring Fairy Tale Snow back again, and then link it away with the Nightmare Unicorn to make the Access Code Talker, and then that's 5300 Access Code, plus the Borreload Savage, pops their field, has a negate up, and then swings for lethal. So there's that game where we were able to play against Mathmech and also, again, through multiple disruptions. So, yeah, let's go and take a look at the next duel here. Alright, this one here is going to be against Lightsworn. It's kind of a Chaos Sworn build, but it's mostly just straight up Lightsworn, which is kind of surprising. I don't really see people use Lightsworn as a deck much really anymore. It's usually just used as an engine, but it's pretty cool. So we're going to take the first turn here. We once again opened with Chaos Space, so we get to pull off a pretty standard play. We did open both Black Dragon Collapserpent, which is like slightly unlucky because it means we get like less searches, but I mean, it doesn't really matter as long as we have the cards to summon. And actually, because we banished that Collapserpent, we can use Chaos Space's effect to put it back. So yeah, I guess we will get like a search later here, but it doesn't really matter again, like I said. This is mainly for that draw, which the Thunder Dragonroar isn't really going to do a lot, but it is still nice to have that card because now I can just discard this to Dragon Ravine and not have to get rid of either Gamma or Nibiru. I get to keep both of those just in case I need them. Although I guess, yeah, to be fair, I could have just discarded Wyverburster, but the Dragonroar is better to discard here. So, yeah, once again, we're at this stage in the combo where we're searching the Rokket Tracer. Gonna throw down that Boot Sector launch and special the Tracer. Activate Tracer's effect. This time it's actually gonna resolve, so this is how the play would go normally, right? We would use the Tracer to get the Recharger, and then we use Tracer and Recharger to go into PSY and Striker Dragon. Basically, just try to get this triangle set up. If you've got this triangle set up, then you are good to go for the rest of the combo. Because that's going to let you bring back Rokket Tracer to this zone, link those two off for the Delindrous Dragon, and then now you might think, oh, I can go for Borreload, but not just yet. First, we're going to use Striker Dragon to destroy Delindrous and add the Recharger back to our hand. Believe it or not, that does actually trigger the Recharger effect to discard it and then bring back Tracer. And then now, because Tracer was summoned, Delindrous Dragon comes back. So now we go for the Borreload, the Link 5 big boss monster there. And because Borreload can be used on our own cards, we'll use Borreload to negate our Rokket Tracer that we've already used anyway, bring back Recharger. That's going to let us go for Borreload Savage Dragon. So that's a pretty standard, like, one-card combo for Dragon Link decks, right? If you open with Starliege Seyfert or Chaos Space, then you can use that to end on this board, on Borreload plus a Borreload Savage Dragon. So the opponent's going to start with a Chaos Space of their own. I thought at first they were Dragon Link, maybe just a 40-card variant. And I was like, yeah, the Raiden, you know, it's not like super common in Dragon Link, but it's a good card in Dragon Link. It makes sense. And then this Pot of Desires came down, and I was like, that's weird, but okay, I'm going to let it resolve. Like, that's totally fine. And I'm like, that's definitely not usual for Dragon Link. And then I saw Lumina, and I was like, oh, that's definitely not usual for Dragon Link. So, yeah, at this point, they show themselves as a pretty dedicated Lightsworn deck. So I'm definitely going to negate the Lumina's effect because it required a discard cost, and I also don't want them to be able to sync level 7. I don't know if they're going to go for, like... I know there's the Judgment Dragon level 7 synchro. I think it's level 7 anyway. There's the Black Rose Dragon. I don't know. They could go for anything, but I'd rather just... they don't. So, yeah, running the Lumina into my Borreload to set up the Levianeer was a really good play on my opponent's part, but alas, I do still have a negate in the form of Borreload Savage Dragon available. Kudos to my opponent for not scooping it up, though. They did ultimately decide to see what they draw off Chaos Space instead of back row before passing. Now, you might be a bit confused if you saw me pop the Rokket Tracer, pop the equip card with Rokket Tracer just now. You might be thinking, whoa, doesn't that keep your Borreload Savage Dragon from being able to use its effects? No, it doesn't actually. Borreload Savage Dragon only cares about the equipped monster for the attack boost and for the initial equip. But once it has the Borrel counters, it no longer needs that equipped monster. So during my opponent's end phase, I am going to use Rokket Tracer to pop that equipped card because I don't really care about the, plus 1000 or whatever attack that Borreload Savage Dragon got. I'd much rather have an extra material on my field, and Tracer is once per turn during either player's turn, so it's just going to be like a free bonus use out of it. Here I thought, you know, maybe I can get away with finding something like, you know, like the Rokket Synchron by popping the Tracer. You put an Ash Blossom in response, that's fine, I don't care. They also throw out a Maxx, but I'll just chain Quick Launch, and I have the Borreload Savage Negate already up, so it's not like Nibiru is going to stop me anyway. Alright, so here comes Chaos Rule. I mean, at this point I could just swing for lethal. But I remember when I was playing this game, I didn't even, like, I totally forgot my opponent was at 5,500 from that attack. I, for some reason, thought they were still at 8,000, so that's why you'll see me overextend a little bit, or, like, play a little bit more beyond what is necessary for lethal. Ooh, excuse me. But basically all I'm going to do is summon this Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, and then bring back the Chaos Ruler, and then I'll just attack for game. Or no, I think I summoned this Black Dragon's Collapserpent too. Yeah, that was definitely overkill, but actually wasn't even that great because now I can't even bring the monster back off of Hot Red Dragon. Again, not that it matters because I had well over lethal. I just thought my opponent was still at 8,000 there. So there's that game. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next duel. This next one is going to be against a Shaddoll deck. It's the first time I've played against a non-grass Shaddoll deck, and I couldn't even tell you how long. Maybe someone's getting ready for tier limits. Who knows? But any case, we are going to go first, and we actually managed to open that Grasslook screener, so that's pretty rad. We of course take those, and it got Ash Blossomed. Womp womp. Yeah, it sucks. You know, it's like we have fewer that Grasslook screeners, so it hurts even more when they get Ash Blossom now. But you know, we are far from done here. It's not like we have no plays as a result. We're definitely going to have less good plays than normal, but this hand actually it has enough action on its own. Going to use the Chamber Dragonmaid to, of course, not only add Tidying, but also go into the Striker Dragon for Boot Sector Launch. I really tried to figure out if I could get this Absorouter Dragon in Graveyard and then normal summon Rokket Synchron, but I don't think it was going to happen, so that's fine. We can just use Boot Sector Launch to special the Rokket Synchron and then special Absorouter off its own effect. Absorouter will, of course, also allow us to search the Rokket Tracer, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to really make that much use of Rokket Tracer because we've already used the Boot Sector Launch effect. That said, we can still get our little triangle set up here. We just need 2 level 4 lower dragons. We've already got Rokket Synchron, and we can just use the Tidying discarded off of Dragon Ravine to bring back the Chamber Dragonmaid. So, yeah, like I said before, I did kind of consider taking out the Dragonmaid package just because, you know, with only 2 grass, it's that much less likely that you're gonna like mill both of them, but you don't need to necessarily mill both of them off of grass for them to be good, as we can see here. So, all right, from there we're going into Dangerous Dragon, and yeah, as you can see, we got our triangle set up there. So we have the Borreload. Now, unfortunately, I can't set up the Borreload Savage Dragon here. For 2 reasons. 1, I don't have the Rokket Recharger to bring back, and 2, even if I did, the Rokket Tracer has already been negated, and we can't negate a card that has already been negated with Borreload Dragon, so do have to keep that in mind. But you also have to keep in mind that you do have to have a Rokket monster in your graveyard to get the negate. That's really not a problem for this deck, but if you're banishing a bunch of stuff out of your graveyard for your plays, just be mindful to leave Rokket monsters in the graveyard if you plan on using Borreload. Alright, so the opponent's going to throw down an Alistair, which I will, of course, negate. I was totally expecting them to just have the Invocation anyway, but I think for once in my life, they actually don't, which is pretty rad. Yeah, so here, since the Rokket Synchron came back, I get to bring back the Dangerous Dragon. The opponent's going to Maxx C. I'll Rokket Tracer in response, because I was going to plan on using that anyway. The opponent's going to Ash Blossom, totally cool with me. To be fair, they probably didn't have a much better Ash Blossom anyway, but they also probably could have just waited for my turn to get a better Ash Blossom. I don't know, you can make arguments either way. And yeah, like I said, for once, we negated the Alistair, and they actually didn't have the Invocation in hand already. It's like, wow, what are the odds? Not that great. So my opponent flips up Shaddoll Schism here, and at first I'm like, oh god, now they're going to summon Winda, but then I was like, oh wait, I already have Borreload out, I'll just negate it, duh. So normally this card actually, like, personally, of cards that make me personally groan, even if they're not, like, you know, the best card, I always just go like, ugh, in my head when my opponent flips up Shaddoll Schism, because, like, Winda can be such an annoying card to deal with. But again, we have Borreload here, so it actually just doesn't make a difference at all. And the opponent's going to realize that too, as I'm pretty sure immediately after this resolves, you just concede. Yeah, they just conceded, because, like, I'm going to get my summon anyway, then they get the Winda, and then I negate it with Borreload, and then I just continue to not really care about their field. So, there's that game. We've got one last one to take a look at. Let's just jump straight into it. And our final duel for this video is going to be against Earth Machines, a 60-card variant. Somebody else getting their kicks with grass, I guess, before it goes to 2. We are once again going to be going first here, and we have the Starliege Seyfert, so that is, of course, going to be our ticket to Borreload plus Borreload, assuming we don't get interrupted. But we already have the Wyverburster in hand. Well, I guess to be fair, we would have searched it anyway. So I was going to say if we get interrupted, that might be helpful, but it's really going to depend where and how we get interrupted, really. Like, if our opponent Ash Blossomed this Collapserpent for some reason, then Wyverburster would be helpful there, but... Yeah, this Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, I've talked about this before. I feel like this card, I don't know if anybody else has this experience playing 60-card Dragon Links. I keep putting this card in my deck, and I just never do anything with it. Like, even in hands like this, where I could feasibly summon it with the Dragoon Knight Romulus. Like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I can't use it as a link material, so, like, what am I gonna do with it? Like, have extra bodies on board? Like, that's kind of nice, but at the same time, you can't always spare the room in Dragon Link. I don't know, it's weird. I think I've asked this before, but I would definitely like to hear what everyone else's opinions about Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon is. I mean, obviously, if you're playing the Black Metal Dragon engine, then, like, yeah, you definitely need Red Eyes Darkness Metal. But I don't think that engine's ideal, honestly. I don't think it's optimal, and, like... Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I keep putting Red Eyes Darkness Metal in my Dragon Link decks, but honestly, in like any variant of Dragon Link I've ever played, I can't think of a single time I've actually summoned this monster and like done something with it. I think I've summoned it before for an extra like 2800 damage that wasn't really necessary to win, once or twice, but I don't think I've ever actually summoned Red Med here and been like, yeah, that was good and helped with my combo. Anyway, I'm just kind of talking over the standard turn 1 play here. We're once again just going to end, like I said, on Borreload plus Borreload Savage Dragon. Now, I will say that even though you get this pretty great end board off of only one card, at the end of the day, it's really not much better than, like, Chi Shao plus Baron when you think about it. Like, it's really just one monster negate and one Omni negate. So, like, yeah, that's really good for one card, but at the same time, it's like, you know? Oh, you just have to be mindful of it. So, mindful of how we use our responses in particular. So, I'm not going to negate this search. The search is fine. Nor am I going to negate this summon. I'm actually just going to throw out a Maxx in response here. But the opponent's got a Call by the Grave. That I am going to negate with my Borreload Savage Dragon. Whether or not you negate the Called by on your Maxx with Borreload / Baron, it really depends on the situation. But in this situation in particular, like, I definitely threaten more board presence just with Borreload. Not only the negate, but the fact that it's got 3500 attack and just can't be destroyed or targeted, really. So, because of that, I'm a little more, like, secure in the board state. I just want more stuff in hand, more resources and potential disruption in my hand. So that's why I decided to negate the Called by there against the Maxx. Another response that I've got up my sleeve that's actually in my graveyard right now is Fairy Tale Snow, which I am going to use right now as soon as this Super Express Bullet comes down. I'm going to flip actually the Heavy Freight Train face down. So that way my opponent doesn't have 2 level 10 monsters in play and go for the big Gustav Maxx line. And I left this one face up even though it was stronger because, like, if my opponent really wants to send 2 other cards they control to attack with this, they are far more than welcome to do that. That is A-okay with me, but naturally they're just going to link it away. Going for the double-headed Anger Knuckle, which is quite a name for a card. Yeah, so I'll definitely go ahead and negate this effect with the Borreload Dragon. Because I actually still haven't used that yet. Also lets me get back the Recharger, which is pretty nice. They're gonna get back this Machina Ruin Force, but I don't really care because my monster can't be destroyed. I totally forgot about that part of this game. Yeah, as soon as they realized my Borreload wasn't going anywhere, they just conceded, which rightfully so, you know. It's funny, I run into that all the time. People trying to destroy and target Borreload. It's like, come on, like, I know, you know, we don't read, and that's the whole meme, but, like, this is the face boss monster of, like, one of the most powerful decks of the format. In that it's, like, tier 2/3. It's a tiered deck. Like, I feel like most people should know what Borreload does by now, but that doesn't seem to always necessarily be the case. So, well, whatever, you know. As someone who likes Dragon Link, that is A-okay with me. So, all in all, yeah, I've been really liking the 60-card variant, even with that grass going to 2. I think moving forward, it's very likely how I'll continue to play the deck. But in any case, let's just go ahead and move now to the outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack. You'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation. You do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot, as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is XLex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.